Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Next for Women podcast. How's everybody doing? So grab your pen, your paper, your girlfriends, questions. And you know what today is? It's Win Wednesday. So, what's your win for this week? Drop it in the feed below. I would love to hear your wins. You guys all know I love to celebrate you. And so I'm getting my phone is going off. So please bear with me. If you see me looking down here, it's because I got notifications coming in on both sides and I don't want to miss it. So yeah, real quick, you guys. So I'm getting a question on what is a win. And first and foremost, let me go in and let me introduce myself. So my name is Pamela Stone. I am your host of What's Next for Women podcast. The podcast where we come on and we talk about our what ifs and I can't so we can conquer the what's next. So we can go after our what's next. And I'm getting questions on what is a what's next? Well, your what's next can be you going to climbing the corporate ladder, or maybe you're out seeking the entrepreneurship but not sure how to get to it, or maybe you're just needing support on what you do, right? So that's our what's next. And we do it by bringing on, the way I do it is bring on powerhouse women around the world who has conquered their what ifs and I can'ts, and they're conquering and killing their what's next. So if you guys have any questions, I'm waiting for my guest to come on, but I'm gonna go ahead and continue on. So real quick, and what is a win? A win is a goal that you have set for the week. Now, everyone's always like, why do you keep talking about a goal for the week? Because if we set small goals, right, the bigger goal it's so hard to reach. But if you set small goals, it's the most achievable item on your to-do list ever. I promise you. So what you need to do is break down that big goal down to so small that you know you can reach that small goal. If you're needing help on setting that small goal, drop it in the feed below and say, I need help. And I definitely will help you. If I can't help you, I say this all the time. I have thousands of powerhouse women that I can go and ask for help. So please note that I don't have the answers for everything, but I do have women around me that can help me get to that point. Let me stay focused here. Let me make sure I'm just making sure because last time I missed some questions, so I don't want to miss anything. So that is what it is all about. Your win for the week. So drop it in the feed below, and I definitely will shout you out. Secondly, I will also let you all know tonight we have our hashtag of the night, and yes, the hashtag is I am Vision Made, because here at What's Next What's Next for Women podcast, we're helping you get you to your what's next, and that is your vision. So that is tonight is I am Vision Made. Also, tonight's show is sponsored by Vision Made magazine, the magazine that is printed quarterly. It is empowering, inspiring magazine that you can see inspirational stories from women around the world. We have power words in there, and speaking of power words, you guys, I even have the Power Word stickers. So if you would like to purchase a power pack of Power Word stickers, I will definitely connect. Just drop it in the feed, say stickers, and I definitely will connect with you where you can go and purchase some Power Word stickers. We all need power words, right? We always need that extra to help us get through those days. You know, we all have them. Maybe we're an entrepreneur, maybe that we're in the corporate world. We all need those power words. So what perfect place to do is get those power words, and you can stick them everywhere. So I see my amazing co-host. She is sitting in the green room. So okay, guys, now grab your pen and paper. And what perfect, you can ask her any questions that you have as we talk through, as we begin to chat. And you know, what pay for time to do it is do it now. So let me bring my guest in.
Hi, how are you?
Good, lady. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So, welcome to tonight's show. Here we go. So, welcome. Look, Well, I have to. I'm getting phone. I'm getting text messages on both ends. So before you join, I'm like, I'm sorry. So I will be. I want to address everyone's questions and concerns. So you'll see me going back and forth. So
Sorry.
everyone says welcome. So welcome to the show. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I love your company. So tell everybody first a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO and co-founder. Well, first off, my name is Davina. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Element Apothec, and we're a body care wellness brand focused on phytocannabinoid-based products and utilizing other plant-based remedies. With really, the goal is to help improve the quality of life for people. And I can share later as we talk the backstory, but really, that's the everything about the company is just to make life a little bit better for people, and the foundation of the company started like that.
I think that is so cool. Look, I was reading and I'm like, well, I want to know more. Look, I already wrote my questions before you even came on here. So I will be having some questions, but this is so cool. And thank you, first of all, for joining us. So with your organization, with your company, I like it that you're all about being the health and wellness and as well as focusing on living life to the fullest, the best way we can. I truly believe in going, I am so believing in first try to do it the natural way, you
Yeah.
know, and that, so I'm glad to hear. And I seen that. I'm like, oh, cool. So I get to ask questions. So you guys, if you guys have any questions for her, you know, how can you, you know, just ask her questions. We'll talk about them through here throughout the show. If we don't get to your questions, please know that I definitely will still pass them on to her, and I will make sure we get to them within a 24-hour period of time, because we don't want to leave you hanging. You know, it's all about a healthy you, a healthy life, right?
Yeah.
So what perfect way is to go after it with doing the natural ways to getting healthy. But before I go into we getting into how did you get to this company, were you ever in the corporate world? And if you ever was in the corporate world, did it even prepare you to get to this point? Because this is amazing.
Yeah, I was actually. I mean, I have an interesting career path. I initially went to school to be an aeronautical engineer, and I actually worked at JPL on one of the satellites, but I realized that wasn't at all what I wanted. My dream of being an astronaut since I was 5 was not really all that it was made out to be. And so I continued to try to think of other things I could utilize in my experience. So I ended up going into technology recruiting. Who would have known, as my first kind of corporate job? And that was because I could understand the engineers. They thought it was perfect. I could speak their language. But that eventually kind of transpired into working for startups, doing technology recruiting. And then I ended up doing their HR because somebody had to do it as the company
Right.
was growing and helping with operations. And so my career really developed in the HR operations. I ended up heading up some large e-commerce operation departments, including HR and accounting. I eventually then moved on to my own consulting company when my son was born, and would help startups set up all of their e-commerce operations, their leadership team, their strategic goals. So my experience was a slightly different because in the corporate world I worked in, I was working with a lot of startups and was able to see the rise and fall of the success and failures. A couple companies, I was one of the last 5, 7 employees that would literally close everything up and walking through this morgue of computers and empty desks. So I had a little bit of different experience, but it I would say it definitely did prepare me because I got to see the decisions that were made early and how those decisions
Mhm.
impacted the businesses, how egos got in the way as companies started being successful. Just even looking at the diversity and the hiring within a company and decisions that were made in terms of uh, you know, who got promoted and who didn't. And so for me, starting a company now, I'm able to utilize that experience and say, okay, how do we do this right? And how do we build the right team from the beginning? What are goals that we should put in place that we don't falter from? What are the things that we stand for no matter what, and don't change that even if we could make a little bit more money here, or if we could cut corners, things like that.
I really admire you on to I'm really admire that you're taking what you had learned in the corporate world and implemented it into your business. You know, so many times there's many of us that are missing what we've learned in the corporate world to implement it into our business, that you know we stumble several times, instead of if you would recognize what you had learned in the corporate world and implement it, just not the whole thing, but
Yeah.
just a little piece of it, you would that would be one less stumbling block that you
Yeah.
would have to worry about her, jumping over the hurdle with it. So you worked in a, oh my goodness, in an array of different positions, from HR to leadership and strategies and things like that. But how did you even come up with what you're doing now? I mean, it's so totally different.
So different. It's funny because I believe I always was meant to be in sales. When I was young, I used to sell Hawaiian lace. My dad lived in Hawaii, to the tourists that were going up to Haleakala, and like had to sell them as Girl Scout cookies and stuff. So I always had that kind of entrepreneurial sales background. But Element Apothec, the foundation, was that my great aunt initially started the base foundation of these products. She was quite sick. It was about 10 years ago, diagnosed with many medical conditions, autoimmune diseases. She was also allergic to the preservatives that were in a lot of the medications. And so her prognosis wasn't good. She was bedridden, not many years to live. I had a sister that grew cannabis and some high CBD strains and said, hey, take this, turn it into this oil. It's helped many people just to feel better. So she thought she would just feel better. But what it helped was she could start getting out of bed and she could start to do more things. And so she started utilizing other plant-based remedies and essential oils and looking at alternatives that could really help her live a better life every day. And over time, people recognized that, and she would be out, and people were like, hey, I have this, I have that. And so she was almost like the local apothecary nurse for a while, making, all different things for people. I even had her make stuff for myself, or for my son. He has anxiety, and helping like with a foot rub to help calm him down when he went to sleep at night. So I knew the products worked. I would buy them for friends and friends' parents, and give them away as gifts. So one day she came to me and she said, I feel like I've done all I can do. She's selling at farmers markets by now. She was in a couple small retail shops in Reno, where she was living at the time. And she said, I feel like I was given a gift, and I want my products to go from the kitchen to the world. So at that point, I was at a transition. I was, had started a startup. It wasn't really going as I had thought, and was trying to figure out, was I going to go back to the corporate world? Was I going to keep consulting? I didn't really want to go back to the corporate world. I felt like this entrepreneurial journey was really my path. So I
Mhm.
took it on. I said, okay, I know how to build great teams. I know how to put in place operational and strategic goals. I've not launched a product like this before, but with the right people and really researching and understanding what we're doing, then we can do this. And so that was the foundation of launching this company.
I know, because you know what? When as soon as after we had first talked, now let me tell you guys, we talked a long time ago. I done told my mom, I done told everybody. I was telling them about your grandmother, how ill she was, and how she couldn't get out of the bed. And then you guys started having her to try this. My mom's like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No." And so hopefully she'll be able to chime in and she'll be able to ask you questions. But I just think that it's so remarkable that it helped. Look what it has done for your grandmother, and what your grandmother has passed on. Now you have able to grow this legacy. But one thing I really like to talk about is you had talked about having the right people.
Mhm.
How did you come to the right people? I mean, I think that's all. I think that's so important on so many aspects of, even if you're in the business, you may not have the right people, or you're starting out and you don't even know who the right people. So how did you know?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just being really honest with yourself, especially when you're starting out, and saying this is what I'm good at. This is my skill set. This is my strengths. And then thinking about how you can support that with other people. For us, it was a combination of co-founders and also advisors. I knew I didn't have a medical background, and we're asking people to put products in their bodies and on their bodies. So we probably should bring on a co-founder that has some medical expertise or pharmacy expertise. So we brought on an integrative pharmacist, Dr. Swati, that came on as our co-founder. I also knew that I didn't have a lot of operational experience with manufacturing products, although I do have one small product on Amazon, but before, I mean, I didn't really have the kind of logistics experience, and marketing. I could do it, but not really great at it. And so
Mhm.
we brought on our COO, David Crowther, who has manufacturing logistics experience. He also came from the movie production background, so very creative, good, attention to detail and design. And then we looked at what else we, I have background in operations, HR, leadership, setting goals, but what about finance? So let's bring on an advisor. I could do basic accounting and bookkeeping, but we
Right.
probably need a CFO type person. So we looked to supplement or people that had built and scaled wellness companies or companies similar to what we're doing. And so we supported ourselves with a team of people that could supplement all of the additional needs that we would have to create this business, and thinking forward, not just what do we need today to launch the product,
Right.
but what are we going to need in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, and trying to think ahead. And the advisors, I mean, some of them are still staying on, some of them, they served a great purpose and really helped us. And so we had 2-year contracts, and maybe what we need now is something different. So always thinking ahead of, being prepared for what skill sets you might need to bring on. That's how we anyways managed it.
So, but let's be honest, how long did it take you to build to the team that you have now?
I mean, we said initially it was just, the three co-founders, we came together pretty quickly. David and I came together first, and then a couple months later brought on Swati. We just put out another advisory offer letter just the other day, so we're still building. It's not stopped. It took a while. It wasn't like overnight, and it was at different stages, because first we have these formulations, we need to find a manufacturer. Oh, we probably should bring someone on that can help us with regulatory compliance, which we have to deal with in the CBD space, and labeling. And, so each step along the way, also, not only did we plan, but there were certain things like that were like, oh no, now we need a regulatory advisor. Okay, let's see if we can find someone. So it's been an ongoing process. I imagine that's never going to end for the company.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, what's been one of the biggest obstacles that you have faced since you have left corporate, build this amazing organization, and continue to grow it? What has been one of your obstacles one of the biggest obstacles you have faced?
I mean, it's a couple things. It's launching in a really competitive space. So the Farm Bill passed in 2018, which made it legal to sell hemp derived CBD products. We kind of took our time to build the company and get all these manufacturing certifications, and going through this process, not realizing during that time that 1,500 other brands were also gonna jump on this, money bandwagon, and try to take advantage. There's a lot of white label products, and just, I mean, there's some good brands, and then there's not some not so good brands.
Yeah.
So we also didn't realize that. So when we came out, we had this vision like, oh my gosh, we're going to have these amazing products. We have these really innovative formulations. We've done some additional things with our medical advisory team. And now we're just one of, a couple thousand companies that's sitting out there. And how do we get our message out there to tell people that we're different? So that's one. And the other one is more personal, is kind of this imposter syndrome, where you're sitting
Mhm.
there, and people are, asking you questions, and you have this team, and all of a sudden you're like, how am I the one that's sitting here leading this? And I mean, we have amazing advisors, and I would reach out, and I would be so surprised that they would say yes. And people like, well, because it's you, they want to work with you, they want to support you. And you start having these second thoughts of, am I the right person to be doing this? And then you have to remember, like, my favorite quotes, like, I'm limitless. Like, my
Right.
my only limit is basically myself. So get out of my head. You've got this. You've worked hard to gain the skill sets. You've worked hard for people to respect the value that you bring to this company. So it's a combination, both on the, company marketing side, and then my own personal stuff.
I so agree with you. I like that you talked about the imposter syndrome. So many people see the success and all the rewards that you're gaining, that you have gained, and they see you in the spotlight, but they don't know what you're going through behind the scenes. And so I'm glad you talked about the imposter syndrome. And matter of fact, I will be speaking about the imposter syndrome, because everyone thinks that no, but you see all the successful people and they don't go through it. And that's not true. We all go through it. It's just, how do you come out of it? So
Yeah.
how did you come out of the imposter syndrome that you were facing?
I mean, it's popped up. It still pops up
Yes, it
sometimes.
will.
Um, but but it's just, I mean, like I said, it was even I was talking to a friend, and I said,
Mhm.
I just sometimes I'm not really sure why all these people are supporting our company, and what do they see in me? And she's like, what do they see in you? And started to list my experiences that I've had, the different companies that I've worked for, my own personal value as a person and as a friend, and I had my therapist was like, write down all of your strengths, and
Yes.
continue to focus on those, work on your affirmations. I can have success. I can have all of these things, because you don't also realize, your whole life you build up these resistances of things that you can and you can't do, and you don't realize how all of a sudden they come out when you're in a position where you
Right.
don't really want them to come out, but they do. So it was more. And still it's working through. I have a couple posters on my walls of, just remembering, like, you can have everything that you want. And part of the journey, I love Kobe's quote was, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And
Yeah.
remembering that, all of this work, and even your questions, I mean, even for me, the questions of, am I the right person to do this, it makes you think, and it makes you stronger. But I think it's just going to be an ongoing thing for a little while.
I know it is for me. I'm with you. I'm always questioning myself, and I'm like, wow, all these people are following me, and why are they following me, and what value can I add to them? So I totally agree that we do deal with that imposter syndrome. We face it. It comes up. It comes up at the craziest time.
Yes.
You're thinking you're moving along and everything's good, and then it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, let me bring you back, or it'll hit you in the face. But I'm glad we did talk about it. And I want everyone to know that we all face the imposter syndrome. It is, again, how you face it and how do you come out of it. And you're always going to face it. But
Yeah.
let's just be honest, we're always going to face it no matter what. Well, real quick, so there's a woman sitting in the desk, our corporate desk right now, or at the corporate office, and she's like, well, I want to work on my what's next. What would be a piece of advice you would give them?
You know what? Just to go for it, and you have to plan for it, right? Because maybe you're going to work for a few months without money, but also just don't be limited by what you expect you should be. And that was something I myself kind of went through. I was at this pivotal point of my career. Like I said, should I go back to my corporate position? If I go back, I'm on this path to lead, eventually be a leader of some of these bigger organizations. But what really makes you happy at the end of the day, that at the end of the day didn't make me happy. That wasn't motivating for me to get
Yeah.
up every day, and really thinking about, what do you want for the rest of your life? Because there's no better day than today. And I thought about it so many times. I mean, even we were building the brand the first month, and I'm like, did I make the right decision? This could have been so much easier. And I thought, no, it's not so much easier, because it's not what I really wanted to do. And now I get reviews, and people talk about the products and how they're impacting them. And it doesn't matter how much work it is. I work more hours than I've ever worked in
Love
my
it, right?
life. I have my son, and trying to balance being a mom and working, but I wouldn't give it up for anything. I wouldn't go back to that same position that I was in
Yes.
before, because now I have a passion and a reason why. And I guess I didn't really understand that until you get there, and you're like, "Ah,
Mhm.
this is this is why I'm doing this."
Yeah.
But
It's a feeling that you're like, wow, wow, this is
yeah.
good. I totally relate with you with that, because I never thought that I would get to this point here and be like, wow, this is nice. Okay, I got this. No matter what obstacles that I face, whatever I face, but I'm like, okay, I got this. I got
Yeah.
this. And it's also assuring to know that it's also because the people that I have at my table,
Right.
you can count on the people on the left and to make sure you have the right people on your left and the right. That's why I asked you about the tribe, because so many people are that. letting everybody come to their table to help
Yeah,
them, and not everybody is fit to be at
yeah,
that table with you. And so I'm glad that you're even, you talked about that there's certain people that you can that you can bring to the table, and understand that those that came, you have to let them go, be okay with it.
yeah, yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, I'm fortunate, I think, with the experience I had working in human resources
Mhm.
and also being able to really, we've had people that wanna get involved, and you really have to understand their intentions and their motivations because not everybody is in it for the right reasons.
So true.
And also making sure that they're really committed. I mean, I've had so many people, I'm like, "You just wanna be involved in the CBD company, do you? Are you really willing to commit the work?" And hold people accountable because
Yeah.
if you don't hold people account I mean, anyways, you're doing a disservice to them because I think most people wanna know what their responsibilities are. But if you hold people accountable, you're also as a leader, running your own company, you're getting what you need also to be successful. And so it's such a two-way street. And I think a lot of people are sometimes afraid, especially as women, I think, to really, to push yourself in that way and to sometimes come off strong and question what people are doing and or why they're not doing things. But it's so important that that you take that position because it's all on you. If you want to be successful, then the people around you have to be doing their jobs also.
Yeah, I like accountability. That's a powerful word, especially these days and times. It is a powerful word to hold people accountable, and then then that I feel that that accountability weeds out those that are really not meant to be
Right.
at your table. But I love that word accountability. Well, we're almost halfway through the show already. I cannot believe that. But
Yeah,
before
me either.
I know it's going by fast. It's going
Yeah.
by fast. Real quick, so someone has asked, they have anxiety. They're facing anxiety. What can they do? What can you suggest to them at the moment?
Well, we do have products that help relieve. There's certain things we can't say, by the way.
Right,
There's
right.
there's products that we have that help support a calm mind, and so there's a couple things. Like I think part of it's just your routine. Like for myself, even when I'm feeling anxious, I now have started doing breath work, which has been really helpful, and also meditating, which it hasn't been easy for me to get to because it's really hard to quiet my mind. But we also have a tincture that it's so interesting with CBD and CBG, which is one of the other minor cannabinoids, and how it's able to bind, help to support your different receptors in your body and really bring your body back to balance. Because what happens, when we are feeling stressed and all of this stuff happening, our bodies and even internal inflammation elevates. And so through products like CBD and CBG and some of these other products that are on the market, it just kind of brings it down. So you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I've got this. I can handle it. For me, even if I'm preparing for a pitch, we were fundraising or meeting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Maybe like 30 minutes before I'll take it. I'm like, okay, I've got this. I can focus. I can breathe a little bit more. Go through my little breathing exercise, and then push myself to move forward.
I like that idea. So this will lead us into, so if anybody wants to get in contact with you, or how can they find you? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm in several female founders, different groups on Facebook. But you can also find the company at elementapothec.com. And on there, we just contact us. We also have an Ask Dr. Swathi, which is cool. If anybody has questions specifically about the products that we have, or just CBD, or you're curious to explore that, then you can go on there. We feel like that's important because there's just so much
Mhm.
lack of information or misinformation or still so many stigmas that exist around it. So we want to make it accessible and easy for people to get the answers to their questions.
I love it. I love it. So you guys, what I will do is, because listen, I got the element, but I couldn't understand how to spell when she sent it. I'm like, okay, okay, that makes sense. So I will definitely drop in the feed after we get off of here. I will drop it in the feed, the link on how you can connect with the amazing organization and company. They're growing leaps and bounds, and I'm so blessed that I get to meet the founder of the organization. So if you guys are needing to, if you're wanting to connect and you want to ask her a question, Why not ask her right now? I just had someone look. That's why I'm using my phone. I keep telling you guys that's why I'm looking over here and trying to. So I'm doing both. But if you guys have any questions, drop it in the feed. We will definitely address your question. And you know it's Win Wednesday. So what's your win for this week? You're going to hear our win, but we want to hear your win. You know I'm all about celebrating. I feel that we don't celebrate enough. We always are so worried about the hustle and the bustle. We're always worried about everybody else, but it's time to focus on us. So tell me what your win is for the week. I know you're out there. I see you out there. And don't be shy. We love to celebrate you. Now, if you're like, I have a goal, but I don't even know how to start. That's still an accomplishment because you're thinking about it. And that's what we want you to do, to start thinking about your goal. And if you need help on setting a goal, just drop it in the feed and I definitely will be in contact with you to set your goal for this week. We still have time. Real quick before we go into the second half of the show, which is going by super fast, super fast. Tonight's show is all sponsored with, oops, as you guys can see, it is all sponsored with Vision Made Magazine. Vision Made Magazine is a quarterly empowerment inspiring magazine where it features women, small business women of the week, of the quarter. There's power words. As you know, I just showed you guys some power words. Here, let me take them out. I just showed you the power words, but you also have some power words in the magazine as well. There's articles. And as we're talking about a healthy life, we also have a healthy life style piece in the magazine with some recipes as well, and much more. If you're interested in getting a copy of the magazine, drop it in the feed below. I definitely will get you connected. And then lastly, two things. Lastly, don't forget tonight's hashtag is hashtag I am Vision Made. Then secondly, if you find that this tonight's episode is something you can relate to or you connect to, drop me emoji. It's just something fun. I love to see the emojis. Do a fire emoji and just do like that. So, and share it around and everything like that. So if you have any questions, drop it in the feed. I know everyone always sends me questions after the episode, after the show is over. No worries. I will definitely get them to her. Trust and believe I will. So, as we were talking about, we had talked about how you got to how you're doing some what's next, but let's get a little deeper. So, what do you do for self-care for yourself?
Yeah, it's tricky, but I wake up really early in the morning, about 5 o'clock.
I understand. I understand.
Um, there's just never enough time in the day, so I wake up early. I usually journal and then meditate, do a little bit of breath work. I try to squeeze that in. Sometimes I do more or less depending on what else I might have to do. I do CrossFit also, so I used to go to the gym, which was great because I really challenged myself. At home, sometimes I sit on my bed. I'm like, oh, I'll take a break, but I still try to do it because I think, I think for women especially, like not just focused on cardio, but really building yourself to be
Mhm.
strong, especially as we age, and bone health and stuff is important. So I love doing CrossFit. So that's kind of my morning routine, and then of course it's time to get my son up and let the school day begin. And then at night I do try to also relax a little if I can, if I have time to read. Sometimes though I end up working late and I'm just so tired. I'm like, I gotta go to bed.
I know.
But I do try to read if I can, or again, just try to do some affirmations, just kind of clear my head. I always before bed, so I guess a step back. I always do write out my list of all of this. So I
Mhm.
have my list. I'm still very much into writing paper, even though there's all of these incredible digital tools. But I have my notebook. So in the morning, after school drop off, I come home. I look at my list from yesterday. What do I have to do today? I prioritize it, check off the things I need, and so at night before bed, I go back through that list, and I'm just like kind of get my
Mhm.
mind prepared of, okay, what did I do? Because what I would do before was I would go to bed. I'm like, oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do this, almost setting myself up for failure before bed. So now I look at it and I'm like, okay, I got 5 things checked off my list. All right, ready to start the day tomorrow. So it's trying to change that mindset, because I think as an entrepreneur, I mean, your list grows. You check off 5 things and you add 10 things. So I really have tried to make an effort though to have some self care, because what I noticed was happening was that I used to be really good at that. I launched this business and I started forgetting about that. I started getting more stressed and more frustrated with things. I wasn't sleeping as well. I just didn't feel good. My mind didn't feel as clear, and so I kind of had to reposition myself and say, maybe it means waking up an hour earlier, but that hour earlier is going to benefit me in so many more ways.
With you. You know what? Funny enough, we're doing some same things. I do the list at night. I have my book. It's not here and close to me, but I do have my book and I list down everything that has to be done. And then at night, I do review what's left, and what's left goes to the next day.
Mhm.
But it does. I noticed for a while there, I was getting out of the habit. I'm like, it's not going to work. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It works because I was getting frazzled with myself, not with anybody else, just with myself, because I knew when I had the system in place, it was working. It was things were moving smoothly. And I'm thinking, oh, I got too comfortable. And then
Yeah.
I realized, okay, let me go back to doing that. So it does work. I'm with you on there. I review my list twice a day. I'm like you, in the morning and the evening, and I start all over again. But it does help with the goals that I've set, as well as I feel more relaxed. I still feel so centered. And I like that you do breath work. I do the meditation. It is hard. As us being visionaries, it's hard for us to slow our mind down just a few minutes to get that, to slow it down. But I so agree with you there. I do the meditation. It is hard because my mind is normally like, okay, well, you're quiet, so let's go. It means for us to quiet. And I'm like, no, let's stay focused. So I agree with you there. But I'm glad to hear that you're doing some self-care, especially with all that you're taking on. Now that you're doing self-care, I loved your quote. But can you tell everybody what the quote is again?
Oh, that I'm limitless.
I like that. So what made you focus on that?
It's changed, but I used to always have this quote like, "You are your only limit." That was my, thing that I have held on to a long time. And it was several months ago, I was listening to a podcast actually, and they had a couple people on there, they brought on someone for 15 minutes, another person came on, and anyways, a woman said that, and I'm like, "That's it, like, I'm taking that." I'm running with it
I
because
love
it's
it.
it's so much in everything. It's not just, professional, it's personal, it's whatever, however you might see yourself, that we're really only limited by what we put on our limits that we put on ourselves. And instead of saying like I'm my only limit, which I think it's negative and positive, when you're like I'm limitless, it's like you feel good when you say it, and it feels like the boundaries are off, that you can go wherever you want to go.
I agree with you. I love it. I love it. And then, real quick, it is what we always do here in the show. It is book on the shelf.
Mhm.
And we do this at this point because I want everyone to know, as we are doing empowering each other with our words, with our expertise, with our wisdom, there's also another way to broaden and expand our minds is with reading. I heard you say reading several times throughout our whole conversation. I read too. I have Audible, and it's so
Yeah.
bad. I'm up to 50 books. 50. That's just crazy. 50 books. But I'm like you. I listen to the books now. I don't read. I do have a bookshelf. If I turn my camera, I do have like 3 shelves full of books. But funny enough, some of those books are on Audible. So I like them both. But I'm also believe, so that's why I always take a moment and let's talk about the book on the shelf. So are you reading a book? And if so, what's your book on the shelf?
Yeah, right now I'm reading a book called Give and Take, and it's an interesting approach talking about in business. Oftentimes in life we look at how we can give, and we, and through that we don't necessarily expect to get back, but oftentimes we get so much more back. In the corporate world or professional business world, it's not necessarily the case, and people, especially I've noticed in the space that I'm in the CBD cannabis space, there's so much competition that people just hold on to stuff, and even conversations might start where people talk about wanting to share things and collaborate with you, and then all of a sudden they're gone. You're like, what just happened to you? But Give and Take is talking about how some of the most successful companies, some of the programs that they put in place, some of the technology that they've even shared, and the resources, and how that's actually helped them grow, exponentially, not only as individual people, as leaders, but also just the success of the company. So it's such a different mindset than you might find,
Mhm.
what you would anticipate to find maybe in kind of a traditional corporate, you know, perspective. But I'm finding it really interesting, and it's kind of the person that I am anyway. So I gravitate towards. I'm like, oh, this feels good for me to read this book.
I love it. Give and take. I definitely will put it out there on
Yes,
the put it out there for everybody.
he does.
Oh, nice. And who is the author?
Um, oh, is Adam Grant.
Adam Grant. I will put that on there for our book on the shelf. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so we're almost done. We're almost over. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. We'll have to have you
No.
back again and talk about your business more and see how you guys are doing, which I know you guys will be so big. You probably won't even have time to come back and educate us all, but it's so grateful for you to even stop by and sit down and empower us all on how you got to where you are, and also know that you faced obstacles just like everybody else, and but yet you're just jumped over those obstacles and those hurdles, and you have moved on, and I'm just so grateful for you to even be here. Real quick, what is your win for this week?
I got accepted, or like we got accepted as a company into this. It's called Luxury Meets Cannabis Conference, and they only select a small handful of brands. So for us, it was just such an honor to be selected, and we'll be, in the same space as some of the most successful brands that have really done a good job that I admire and follow. And to get that was, it's just so rewarding. Like you see your hard work is really paying off, and there'll be incredible retail partnerships there, press from like O Magazine, and I mean, I think for us it's like, okay, it's here we are. We've made it at least to the point where we're getting recognized as a brand that people can care about, that has products that really help people. So it was exciting when that message came in.
That is so cool. Congratulations.
you know
Yay. That is so cool. So cool. Well, Maya, I have to say mine is not that big, but I'm just so excited. I'm talking at two events. One will be it is at the Comeback Summit. I'll drop the flyer in the into the feed. And then secondly, Shanice Wise has a book launch at the end of this month. And there's a panel, and she's so gracious enough to invite me to be part of the panel with these women that are making millions of dollars. So I'm really trying to pull it together here, to be sitting in a room and sitting on a panel with women that's making all of these millions of dollars. But I'm blessed to be part of it. So if anybody would like to be part of those, would like to join me onto those, either one of those, I'll drop it in the feed and I'll give you directions on how to do it. And so, with the last 3 minutes before we wrap this up, what would be your last piece of advice?
Well, first off, I just want to go back to what you said, because I believe that you deserve to be on that panel, and you're just so amazing. So,
Thank you.
you
Thank
know,
you.
I'm always like, well, maybe I deserved it. I'm like, no, I deserved it.
Thank you so
I
much.
just want to say that. But I mean, I think for advice is just, sit with yourself and really think about what you want out of your life and what's going to make you happy. And for some people, that might be the corporate position. For some people, it might be launching into your own entrepreneurial journey. And then, in whatever path you pick, just be true to yourself. Don't sacrifice your dreams, your goals, because you can, I don't know, I think you can have it. Like, I think we can all have it. The idea of being limitless, like I said, is just something that inspires me. But you have to work hard. Like I said, I live by Kobe Bryant's quote, which is, "It's not the destination, it's the journey." Because there's days you wake up and you're tired and you don't want to do it. There's calls you get, there's disappointments, and we thought we were going to get into this retail partnership. We were sure of it, and we got a call and said, they're not doing it at all this year. They're not taking any CBD products anymore for the near future. We've had companies that we've actually launched online, and then they can't take CBD products because Shopify won't let them. So, there's challenges along the way, but don't let them stop you. Just know it's part of the journey, and from each of those challenges, you climb over, and you're like, okay, what's next? What did I learn? What did I gain? That hurt a little bit, but I'm a little bit stronger because of it. Or now we can position ourselves a little bit better. Or next time I'm going to think about that decision a little bit more, and just don't stop yourself, because it is easy to get lost in the what ifs and the should haves
Mhm.
and could haves. But what does that do for you? I mean, I do it myself, so I'm not saying I'm perfect. Some days I'm like, if we would have done that, I'm like, wait, stop. Okay,
Yeah,
we did that, and so how can we move forward? But
I'm
that
with
would
you.
be my advice.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, thank you for joining us. This was an amazing conversation, and you rock. You really rock. And thank you again for joining us. Well, everybody, it's over already. I can't believe it. I have so fun doing this, bringing on some amazing powerhouse women as I did tonight. So I hope you guys got. Look, I wrote down. I have a lot of notes even before we talked. I have more notes. So I hope you guys got some great nuggets. If not, press replay. We're here. If you have any questions, drop them. Please continue to drop them. If you are, what's your win? We still want to celebrate you, even if we did not drop it here. I still will give you a shout out. I believe in celebration. But before I close out, everyone, I wanted to first and foremost thank you for even stopping by and sitting here and listening to us, our conversation. I hope it has added some nuggets to your day, as it has added nuggets to mine and my life, as I should say. But before I say this, know this: if no one has not told you, any of you, you guys rock and you're amazing. And go after the life you so desire, not what everybody desire. Because remember, we only get one life at it. So why not try it and keep it moving? And listen, we all face the imposter syndrome. You just heard her say it. I face it. We all face it. It's just, how do you get out of it? And know that you have a strong tribe, a strong team that's got your back, that we're sitting at the table with you, not against you. And know that not everybody can sit at your table, and it's okay. We even talked about that even more. So if you guys needing help, drop it in the feed. We're here for you. But until next week, when I got a secret, but you guys got to join in. Um, I got something new working. I'm working on something new for the podcast. But until then, you guys know that I appreciate you all. You're amazing. Until next week, take care of yourself. Thank you, and bye, everybody.